Oh, it's been happening since Election Day. We had the Times reporter the other day saying that the cabinet picks, Joe Biden's cabinet picks, look like Marvel superheroes. They'll never stop patting themselves on the back. They were part of the resistance. They were proud of that. I love that Donald Trump was getting snippy with these reporters because everyone was talking about dignity, the dignity of the office. But these reporters have never had any dignity. Nancy Pelosi, I want to ask, did President Trump ever do anything as undignified as ripping up that State of the Union speech? Find something that he did in the office that was that undignified. And for these hypocrites to talk about dignity, Nancy Pelosi, who closes salons and then gets her hair done and then blames it on them. I mean, how undignified is Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats, including Chuck Schumer and everybody else who complains about dignity, the dignity of the Oval Office? The president was right. And you know what? He was protecting Joe Biden because he said, don't ever talk to the president that way. So he's protecting all future presidents from this predatory press.
Well, Tom, Pelosi and Gavin Newsom, they're just following the science, right?
Exactly.
I digress. Jessica, so I go to you. The president is criticized often for his own self-congratulatory tone. But my question to you is, do you actually think that the media portrays him fairly? Do they portray his successes, discuss his successes like Operation Warp Speed, or do they really only focus on his blunders?
I think there are certainly more blunders than successes, so that should be proportionate. But we know that he has an incredibly antagonistic relationship with the press and that he gets a tremendous amount of negative coverage for it. If you're calling people fake news to their face, they're going to get upset about it. And I think the reporting is going to reflect that. Now, we've covered... What?
It's not their job to do that. Their personal opinions shouldn't be in the reporting. But Jess, to be fair, you're saying that because the president was mean and said some nasty thing to the press, that the press shouldn't cover the stories accurately. No. And that's just simply not true. Just because there's a lot of politics. Actually, I hate them all. I hate politics, but it's our job to give our viewers the information that matters to them. And that's not what they're doing when they're in those press rooms. And you know that because this was the first opportunity that you saw that they were complaining that they hadn't gotten a press conference. Meanwhile, Joe Biden got to sit in his basement for the majority of the campaign. And the first time they had the opportunity to ask him questions, they give him all these layups. It just shows you the difference. And I'm not saying you can't like the president. Like, don't like him. Go home and rant about it to your wife or husband. But at the same time, your job is not to put your personal shield on. It's to give the audience the information that they deserve.
I was just trying to add some color to how the relationship got to this point. And I'm not saying that it's appropriate, but there are some phenomenally good reporters, like Jeff Mason, for instance, who the president goes after relentlessly, even mocking him for wearing a mask, even though it's CDC guidelines. And he says that he's showing off, right? He wants to be all PC. And I think that is a problem and that the relationship with the press is fractured. I want Joe Biden's feet to be held to the fire as well. I think it's important.
Do you think it will? Do you think it will?
I think that it will to some degree. I don't think it'll look like what goes on with President Trump, but Joe Biden's going to run a transparent administration where he's not going to be breaking norms like this on a daily basis.
His feet are held to the fire. He's curled up right now in front of a fire as we speak.
Well, and Emily, Governor Cuomo just this week in a radio interview said he's actually never seen disrespect towards a president the way that he's seeing against President Trump right now. Do you think that this is going to change if Biden becomes president, when Biden is called into the office in January?
Well, I certainly think the contempt will stop. The visible contempt will stop. I'm not sure, however, if a 180-degree pendulum shift is any more healthy, meaning I think the softball questions, and I think we all agree to this, do no one any favors, right? That if there's sort of this simpering worship or just, again, the what socks is he wearing without really digging in, without really uncovering policy. He's said that he can have a Green New Deal-ish, environmental-friendly policy for the entire nation that would keep union members employed. Let's get the details on that. That's just one example of a million. But I have to say, I don't know, in terms of Trump, I don't know if that bell can be unrung, meaning it's almost like watching, a couple friend of yours, they're married, but they hate each other, and you're just watching these two have contempt for each other, and you're like, I don't think that they can ever go back. So I think for this particular relationship with this particular president, I don't think there's any healing there.
We're not inviting you over anymore, Emily.
That's not me.
All right, well, we have to leave it there. And ahead, Defund the Police supporters have a message for Joe Biden. That's coming up next.